Levi's like, I love Chevys, I like tractors, and I like watermelon, man.
Hey, all I gotta say is,
like, what
let the Chevys
man?
wreck the Chevys and Ford come to the front.
Hey, so far you're not doing very hot, so you got nothing in this battle. I'm just saying.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
hey,
Your
hey,
Ford
the
Yodas look
hey,
good. Suck
hey.
cheese.
The
Hey.
Yodas look good. The Cadillac one IMSA.
Yeah, that's supporting my
GMC.
argument even more.
Hey, no one needs to know about that.
Buffoon.
But everyone knows
Anyway.
about that.
Woman's like, yeah, well, I saw the
Well,
board on the
America.
side of the road.
Well, I'm going to put the cap on that there. Welcome to Lap 16, everybody. My name's David. I'm joined by Antonio, Levi, and Norman. We got a lot to talk about. Crazy weekend, month of May. We got a lot coming up. We got a lot happened. But we're ready to dive on in. But before we get started, our boy Antonio, who was mobile last week, was racing a real race car around a real racetrack. So you want to tell us about that, my dude?
Hell yeah. So I am, first of all, before I even start going on a tangent, I am very sick, so I apologize for my atrocious sounding voice. But yeah, no, man, it was a good time. So I was working on the car all last week. We had a whole bunch of stuff we needed to do. We baselined the setup and all this stuff. And then for some reason, when I got my car, they did the proportioning valve for the brake bias from left to right, which was really strange because typically it's front to back. And anyway, so we swapped it to front to back. And man, let me tell you how much that helped the car. It was insane.
Wait,
so anyways,
wait. You said the brake bias is set left to right?
Yeah, it was strange. So it was like left front to right front tire. So you'd be dialing out right. So they're basically the knob would control the right front tire. And it would be, so like if I guess the theory of it was if you take away right side braking and the left side's got more, it actually helps rotate the car. In theory, sounds like a great idea. The guy who had the car before me used to do really well. But for us, it didn't work.
Yeah.
We plumbed it back to front to back, and it was just way better now. The car drives awesome. So, anyways, long story short, last race, man, I think I came like 25th or 6th on sheer pace, which was horrendous out of 35 guys. This week, we ended up pulling out a top 10, which was cool. So we got 10th, literally was what we ended up finishing. It was a great weekend overall, super hot. Of course, I woke up Saturday morning with the sickness, and it was great. So I was battling fatigue and headaches and stuff all day in 30-degree weather. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm going to have to look it up, but I think it's like somewhere... Here, hold on, what is it? 30 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. Here, I'll convert it for you Freedom Unit users. So that was a crisp, like 85 to 90 degrees. So it was pretty spicy. Definitely not a nice time to be wearing 5-layer suits. But you know, whatever. We got through it. Norman's over there crying down there because he hasn't been in a race car in a year and a half. So anyways, making fun of me. That's right. Is your engine even in the car? Huh?
No, but I have suffered from heat exhaustion in the car. It isn't funny.
No, yeah, dude, it sucks. I got out the car now. I was almost ready to drop at the end of the race.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, no, it was a good time, dude. My team, we did awesome. I love those guys. They put a lot of time into the car this last week. And then the weekend, I'm just glad we finally had it pay off. We finally found out how to loosen the car. And I'm looking forward to progressing up the finishing order. That'd be great.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Progress
It's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, man, top 10s are meaningful. That means I'm in a competitive league, so I'll take it.
That's great. Awesome, man.
But, yeah, anyways, I guess I'll segue us into NASCAR like I always do. Thank you for letting me ramble for 5 minutes last week. I was fully expecting to have them make fun of me for 5 minutes after I spoke, but thankfully we didn't get there, so that's good.
Oh, no, you were good.
And we saved it all for this week.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get it face to face. That's all that matters. But, yeah, I guess I'll just briefly run us through the, or not briefly, I mean, we got quite some stuff to talk about, but I'll run us through a race, and man, what an awesome race it was. I really enjoy Darlington. It's always a good time with the throwback schemes. They brought on a whole bunch of cool people in the booth at some point. We had, I think, Kyle Petty was there, Richard Petty was there. We had, We had Carl Edwards in the booth. There's a few other people as well I can't think of, but I know for sure.
What's so special about Kyle Petty?
Well, he's Kyle Petty, man. I mean, he's kind of he was in the league a while, and his dad's Richard Petty. That helps a lot. But he's just, I don't know. I want to say charismatic. I don't know if that's the right word, but he's just easy to listen to, easy to watch. I always kind of liked him.
Ooh,
and he's always been with Fox. Well, he's always been with Fox also. So, I mean, he already had the tie. But, yeah.
Yeah, Norman's not a Kyle Petty fan. Yeah, he's not a fan, bro.
I'm still salty. 92 All-Star race.
Oh, man, this guy, he would be still holding a grudge from 32 years ago.
And an All-Star race. I had 0 to do with points.
Yeah, literally.
Go look up Davey Allison pictures after that race.
That's funny.
I like that.
Yeah, no, man, let's run us through this race.
So who do we hold on? Yeah, who do we have in the booth? We had Clint Boyer in the booth. We had Richard Petty in the booth. We had Kyle Petty in the booth. We had Carl Edwards in the booth.
Bill Elliott.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill Elliott. That's
he
what
was
I was
in there
missing.
for a long time too, and he really wasn't that bad.
No, he wasn't too bad, man.
He was there the whole final stage, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
but it was cool.
I think Richard Petty started us off, or no? Was Kyle Petty pre-race?
Kyle Petty was pre-race
yeah.
into the first stage. Then Richard came and joined him too. Then Carl Edwards stage 2, and then Bill Elliott final stage.
Yeah, no, it was a good time, dude. I thought it was a great broadcast. They had great guys in the booth. It was cool to see all those guys come back. I also heard that DW's coming back for North Wilkesboro. I know there's mixed opinions about him. I've always just, his voice to me growing up watching, him prime time. I didn't get to see him drive. I got to see him prime time broadcasting, right? So to me, his voice is iconic. Whenever I think of NASCAR, I think of boogity, 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 baby. And I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm fired up now. So I'm excited that he's going to be back. But anyways, finally getting into this race. So stage 1, I think it was like 90 laps. Great racing really early between Truex and Bubba. Bubba was definitely holding his own there for a while. He was doing great throughout the first stage. We didn't get to do any green flag pit stops. A caution came out midway through the race. They got back green going, and pretty much, stage winner MTJ. He pretty much dominated that entire stage. So that was awesome to see there.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm kind of a fan.
We know you're not just kind of a fan.
I know, right?
He's been saying it too, man. Like MTJ's been doing great since he's been mentioning him, and having that win too is huge for him. But moving on, stage 2. So we have Bubba has some green flag pit stop troubles. I don't know if you guys saw that. His right rear wasn't fully on there, which was unfortunate because he was having a pretty good race until that point. I don't know if he ever got back up to recover. I'll have to take a look at the results again.
Not really, but I really was impressed on how he was staying patient at the first, being in second place, not burning his tires off. He was keeping good pace, and it was really was pretty frustrating to see him have problems because I think he was the car to beat that day.
He was doing good, man. I always feel bad when he does bad. I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of him, just because all the stuff that went down in the last couple of years. But man, he's a good guy. He tries hard. He's a good driver. He deserves to be there. Sometimes he has his issues with whether it's a mental battle or just some on track struggles. And I think overall, everybody likes seeing him do well. So moving on, we had around 35 to go in the stage. Truex and Chastain were battling it out super hard. Those guys were battling the entire race, which was awesome to see. And then final lap of stage 2, we had Chastain and Truex went into the corner, and Truex went for a pass as Chastain went for a pass on a lapper, which resulted in 2 tangling and Truex getting spun around. This was really unfortunate for Truex. That really sucks.
So can I ask this question? I know I touch on F1 too. Verstappen going for the extra point sometimes and almost wrecking his car a couple weeks back, like going off track, trying to get that one extra point. I think the points between stage win and stage second is 5 points. NASCAR's point system is set up where somebody like Truex, who's having a really good year, he's got a fast car, he's got a good team, they look like they're solid. 5 points is not going to make or break his season, but wrecking out at Darlington could make a big change in your season. is it worth it for him to push as hard as he was pushing there just for an extra 5 points on the last lap of stage 2?
I agree. I do not think that was the right move. I think that was all on him too. He pushed Ross up, and then Ross got into the wall, and when he got in the wall, he came down and clipped his front right, and that's what sent him around. I don't think it was worth it, and I agree with you, Levi.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to be pushing the issue, especially that with that much left in the race. There was still, probably about 150 at that, or 200 to go at that point. Or, 150 to go at that point.
And besides Bubba Wallace, he had the car to beat.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, he had a supercar. Ross has looked good all day. He was up there. But yeah, I think Truex probably overall, I mean, at that point, we're talking about at that point into stage 2, he had the car, I think, to beat.
Yeah.
If they could have kept up with changes, of course, Darlington's a weird track like that. But man, it really, really seemed like he gave away the race for 5 points to me, which then in turn got him less points. You know what I don't know.
Yeah, because he finished 8th in that stage, too.
Beating a dead horse. I think everybody sees what I'm saying, but I just don't understand, and I think it's another thing that's going to happen with the stages. I don't like the stages. This is kind of the stuff that happens when people are pushing when they shouldn't.
I think
unfortunate for him for sure.
I think to wrap this up, and our dislike for stages, without stages, Truex doesn't do that, and I think Truex could go on to win that race, depending on how the race ends up playing out. But he would have made that pass. He definitely had
the speed.
He would have made that pass. It might not have been that lap. It might have been 2 laps later. And then he would have pulled away, and depending on how cautions fell, he could have run away with that race.
Yeah, without a doubt. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but unfortunately for Truex, but Chastain did end up going on to win the stage. I don't think he really had anything come out of that for him. Maybe some minor left rear damage, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was afraid it was more, but yeah, you're right. I think it was a little bit of cosmetic damage at most.
Yeah, nothing that affected his race. And then moving on to stage 3, this is where it starts to get spicy. This is when the race really got good. I mean, it was awesome up until that point. I want to say I watched that whole 293 laps, and I thought it was phenomenal. But anyway, start of stage 3, literally right at the beginning of the stage, we had the big one collecting like 7 or 8 cars. It was crazy. There was I think it was the 43 ended up getting into the wall, or I think he had a tire go down.
And he had a tire fall off.
Well, it fell off entirely,
I'm pretty sure it fell off. Now, there was
I know the replay, it was down. I know it was like the tire was going down on the replay. But, mind you, now that you say that, though, I did see a tire rolling at the end of that.
It was his tire. I saw it when he came into the pits. He was missing a tire. A lot of people were wondering if it broke off when he hit the wall, but I don't think he hit the wall hard enough or even touched the wall with that side of his car. I think the tire fell off. I don't know if they didn't have... You got 5 of them. They put them down to 1 lug nut, and they still couldn't get it on.
That's been a problem, too. A lot.
I was under that same impression that it looked like the tire was loose during the spin before he hit the wall.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's pretty much what ended up happening there. But I know a lot of guys have been talking about that recently. It's just, at the beginning of the season, I think it was beginning of last year, whenever that lug came in for the first time, I know a lot of guys were having issues with the loose wheels. And I think it was hardware in the beginning, but now it's really just becoming to like brushing too much. Like, you just got to get that tire on. You got 1 lug. You just need to get that thing on.
That's the issue is you have dial pins you have to line up to get the tire completely on. Then you got to put the lug nut on. That's what happened with Bubba Wallace. They didn't get the dial pins lined up, so they hit it, but it didn't tighten the tire up. That's why they had to bring the jack back around, jack the car back up, and get the tire twisted to get the lugs on, to get the dials lined up to put the lug on all the way. And I think maybe that's what they missed, was they weren't fully lined up with their dials.
Yeah, 100%. There's probably some sort of issue going on there, 100%. But moving back, they restart the race, get going around lap 200. They got some hard battling to start the stage, or sorry, not to start the stage. Well, technically, I guess it is the start of the stage because the start of the stage was 8 cars wrecking. So They get back going after that restart, and there was some hard battling between Chastain and Larson. They were going at it pretty much the entire race after Truex had his issues. Larson had a really quick car, and they had a couple of points where they were running both of each other, like both of them into the fence. They're just racing each other hard, like not right into the fence, but running them right up to that wall, not giving each other an inch. And anyways, then we get into another caution. Stenhouse Jr. gets a tire go down. Unfortunately, this leaves us with 80 to go in the race. We get back on again. Decent run. Green flag stops, get going. Denny Hamlin tries to stretch his stint as long as possible, hoping for some caution. Unfortunately, doesn't get it. Comes into pit, and with like 15 to go, Newman ends up losing it. Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know, Newman's runs. I think he's running 5 or 6 races with that team.
Rick Ware Racing, yeah.
Yeah, with Rick Ware, he's running 5 or 6 races. This was one of them, and I guess unfortunate the way it ended for him. But this is where it starts to get really interesting. Stage 3, it becomes a short shoot now to the end. So they get back to racing, 13 to go, and we get another big wreck. Unfortunately, Truex again involved into it, and he just made the same mistake. He just went in way too hard into the corner, slid up, and ended up right hooking himself off Logano into the wall, and it was just like he ended up collecting. There's another good 7 cars in that wreck. We had Logano, Elliott. I mean, they didn't end up getting any major damage out of it. I mean, they all probably had minor except for Truex and Logano.
It's got to be Newman's number, right? 51? It's got to be his number. That's why he kept having all the bad luck.
Oh, yeah, dude. I know, 51. Imagine
Sorry, for everybody out there, that's Antonio's number in his legend car. He ain't even getting it. It was a bad joke, I guess, apparently. Let's just move on.
We'll let it go.
I was like, what's this guy going on about? I was thinking number 6 because, that's what he left with. I'm like, hold on a minute. Am I missing something? Was there, his old car number? But no, instead, I'm getting pooed on for... Anyway, it's all good.
I got a question. Truex tried to get going, but he was stuck. Why was he stuck?
I saw that too. So his tires were flat. I wonder if it was just spinning on the bead. You know what I mean? Like when it debeaded and it was now just the rim was just spinning because the rubber was holding it up enough that it wasn't touching the track. I think that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't we have a similar situation on pit road with somebody whose front tire got caught up underneath the front of their car a couple weeks back and they couldn't get it, so they blew the caution for somebody stuck on pit road? I don't remember when that was or who that was, but I remember seeing that where he was pulling forward, pulling backwards, and he couldn't get it to move because of something to do with the tire underneath the front end of the car.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Wouldn't that have been Gibbs?
I think so. And the bad part of it is we got a car 43 who came in with three wheels, and then another guy who spins and he just can't get going.
Yeah, I didn't know if that's the reason he was out of the race was because he had help to get back going because he couldn't move, or if there was something.
He was doing some cool burnouts.
Yeah, he was trying to drive, so I was like, oh, he thinks he can still go, and then he's out of the race because he couldn't get going because just spun his tires.
Well, we know these toe links are pretty touchy too. I don't know if maybe both of them got broke or something on that rear suspension, but
yeah, no, they went away with the inner tire liner as soon as the low profile tires ended up doing away with them at that point. So I guess to your point, Norman, it would make sense if we had some back again. I don't know if it's gone because of the low profile tires or what's going on there, but yeah, I just don't like the tire for that reason. It's just like as soon as you get any assistance of any kind, they DNF you. So it's just I don't get it. Like why? It's like how we were talking about the safety last year, and here we are, safety podcast again. But it's like when we're talking about safety when they were backing cars into the wall, and how did the safety go backwards? Like how did we go from the safest car ever to not the safest car ever?
Right. And
now we're dealing with tires, and it's just like how did we go from tires that worked back to tires that don't work once they're popped? You're DNFing because of that. Anyways, frustrating, but.
Yeah.
All right, man. Can we get to this race? Come on, man. Let's go.
Yeah. What happened?
So, anyways, we had that wreck there with 13 to go, so it caused another wreck. We ended up getting back going. Another restart gets us going with 6 to go. And remember our boys there, Chastain and Larson, who'd been going at it side by side all race. Well, they finally went too hard and ended up getting into each other. So Chastain sends it in. Larson pinches him down, And the two, unfortunately, end up in the fence together, with Chastain getting right hooked, very similar to what happened to Truex and Logano. Exact same situation, pretty much, except, and I know there's going to be debates with this, but I'm just going to say it how I saw it. So it looked like, in my opinion, Larson pinched him down pretty hard. Fair. He's ruined 2 of his races now. I'll make it 3 now, but he's ruined 3 of his races. He's just not given an inch. And Chastain threw it in, and he slid up too. So it's just one of those things where it's a racing deal. I mean, they're running hard. It was funny too, because as soon as they ended up getting side by side, they were, kind of in a T formation there with with Chastain sideways, and Larson pushed him down the track for like 100 feet, which was hilarious. And these two got a bit of history now. So this is over the last 3 races. This is kind of, well, it might be more than 3 actually. I think there's 3 occasions, but it's happened over a few races now. And yeah, we got some history between these two now. This is gonna be like the new Chastain and Denny thing. Chastain's just getting into everybody now.
Yeah.
Hey man, all I'm saying is I'm so glad that you said that Larson pushed him down first, because that has been not seen by anyone except for yourself apparently. No one's seeing that point that Larson already kind of put the elbow down, like, dude, don't pinch me here. And then Chastain was like, dude, I'm gonna, kind of lean back on him, like, I'm gonna pinch you here, bro. Like, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. And that was before they ever got into turn 1. But a lot of finger pointing going towards Ross on this. It's almost comical because Hendrick came out and said something. But yeah.
It's hard. It's one of those things where it's like Chastain's lost credibility now because he's gotten into so many things that have been his fault. And now I understand, like I said this, I think, an episode or 2 ago, and he's been in wrecks this season that have been his fault and some others that haven't, but people have just blamed it on him. And I think this is one of those things where it's like, when you get into everybody week in and week out, 1, you build enemies, and 2, everybody's going to just start blaming you now. And it's one of those things where it's like, this is my take on it. Larson, I think he had all of the rights in the world to do that. He could totally pinch him down. But I think it's one of those things where it's like, in doing that, that you're putting yourself in a situation where you could potentially get wrecked because of doing that. So yeah, you're going to pinch him, you're going to give him no space, but you now take away all of his margin of error, which unfortunately is what happened.
Yep.
And then now he comes and slides up into you, and boom, you're both in the fence. So, it did end up affecting Chastain more. I mean, Chastain I think he was out. He was out at that point. And didn't Larson continue to finish the race? I think all they did was pull his right fender out. I mean, his toe was out at that point, but he did go on to finish at least.
He had some substantial front damage also on his car. It wasn't competitive, I don't think, at that point.
Yeah, definitely nothing. Definitely nothing to, nothing to carry on about.
He ended up 20th. I mean, so he wasn't dead last by any means.
Yeah, nothing to show for. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say.
Yep.
Anyways, we finally get going. And out of nowhere, well, I say out of nowhere, he was up there all race doing phenomenal. But we get back on again for our green-white checkered, and Willie B, man, absolutely dominates the green-white checkered restart. He pulled away and he did not look back, and this was crazy to see because this would have been the 100th win for that number 24 team, which was awesome with Gordon there and Hendrick there. That was beautiful. And it was the first time that Hendrick had been to victory lane at Darlington since 2012. So
wow,
that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, 7/10. He was almost a whole second ahead by the end of that, and that was a green-white checker, so it only took him 2 laps to get that gap. And on top of that, my man Kevin Harvick.
I know. Dang it.
Come on, runner up, baby.
Maybe one day.
Well, maybe one day. I think he will this year. I've been saying it. I'm going to keep saying it. I mean, heck, he's got second at Darlington. I didn't think that was going to happen for him.
I think so, too.
So
I think he's going to get one.
But I gotta, I gotta go back to the Chastain Larson, just the aftermath that is going on right now. And I'll just say the witch hunt that is going on right now with Ross Chastain is really, really frustrating to see. I understand the man might have done it to himself a little bit, but at the same time, there was 3 different restarts with these 2 cars, and every time there was mutual contact between the both of them. And this last time, it just didn't happen out too much. And I don't know, like I always say, I can only race it on the sim, but Darlington turn 1, dude, you can only go into that. If you're on the high line, there's one way you can go into it, And if you're on the low line, there's kind of only one way, and when they push each other around before you ever get there, your cars aren't set up for the corner as well. It looked like they did get them lined back up, but then I've watched the replay in slow-mo numerous times for numerous different views, trying to figure out what's going on to see who was really at fault. Can't really see who's at fault, unfortunately. But it looked like to me that Larson was really, really pushing him down, which is just hurting himself when you try to go into the corner on the high side. You can't. You're better to take that high line and go on around, but yeah, I don't know what's going on in their mind at that point. So
I think Ross is moving too quickly, man. I think like he won Talladega, he smashed the watermelon, the whole coda, throwing the watermelons off the tower thing. I don't know. Anyway, like he's kind of like he's the front, and then the hell melon, whatever. You know where I'm going with this. The dude is definitely the face of NASCAR on the marketing side of things. And I've heard a lot of witch hunt, but on the other side, there's some people comparing him to Dale Sr., like Mr. Intimidator, And
well, that's
what I was going to say is you got to earn your stripes. That's where, like, I'm not a longtime NASCAR fan, but I get it when it comes to like, you got to earn your stripes, like this guy's won some races and stuff, but you can't just come in and start pushing people around. There was a good video I watched today. I'll if I can find it again, I'll link it in the show notes, but it basically was talking about how, Trackhouse is a Chevy company, and Hendrick has their hands in building engines for Trackhouse. There's a lot of connections here. So like you can push people around, but you got to pick who you push around, and pushing around the star boy of Hendrick is not the best move, probably politically and literally. And I know, Antonio, you were going to dial it up. I have a clip dialed up of Rick Hendrick talking in a press conference. But I mean, as he says in the conference, like, we can ruin your championship, Ross. Like, if you piss us off, you're not going to win a championship because we'll just spin your ass. It's like your future's in our hands. Like, be careful.
It's a 4v1.
Yeah, be careful who you mess with because you're picking a fight with the wrong guy here. I don't know if it was totally Ross's fault, but I know that if I'm Kyle Larson, I'm okay picking the fight because I know I've won the fight kind of a little bit. Like, it's good TV and it's good stock car racing to have a little bit of a feud. It's good for the fans. It's whatever. But if you're Ross, you gotta take it easy a little bit. I think he's on a bit of a high. You know what I'm saying?
Well, on that point, I get what you're saying. One, I think Rick Hendrick said that. You'll cue it up. We can get it out of the horse's mouth. But there's contracts. There's money involved. He's a businessman. But yeah, he wants his racers winning. I know he'd probably give them 3, 4, 5 horsepower less or something, in the engine, to say, oh, it's just the way they were built. But he can't tell me that he's giving them the best off the lot already.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. If he does that, to me, I got tons of respect for Mr. H. I'll pretty much lose it all if that's the case.
Yeah.
If he goes out and wrecks Ross Chastain. Because the deal is, we've had guys in the NASCAR that's come and gone that were doing all this kind of stuff, but they're only doing it back in 20th. He's leading the points. I mean, it's not like he's some trash racer who can't get it done.
No, he's good. Ross Chastain's an incredibly talented stock car driver, and and other stuff too. It's got to be. But yeah, and I'm not saying that you can't push people around and you can't be aggressive, but pick your battles a little. Nah.
Win it all. Win it all.
And I'm the Joey Logano fan, and this guy's saying,
yeah, right?
I know.
The two-faced Joey Logano.
Hey, I'm a two-faced Joey Logano fan. Look at me. But no, let's dial up this clip from Rick Hendrick. This was in a press conference. I'll definitely link this video in the show notes. The look on Jeff Gordon's face during this video is pretty priceless too. But anyway, yeah, let's take a listen to this.
Has Ross Chastain crossed a line?
I think you can ask any driver in here that he's wrecked. I've been involved with him. He doesn't have to be that aggressive. And I guess at this point in the race, maybe you're super aggressive, but you just don't run people up in the fence or, just he's gonna make a lot of enemies. It's hard to win a championship when you got a lot of paybacks out there. And he's got so much talent. I think if he just calmed down, that there's a time in the race. Dale Earnhardt Sr. told me one time, he said, I won't name the driver who drove for me, but he said, he's got all the talent. He just doesn't know how to race. And meaning he just knows when to race, when to push it. He's got a lot of talent, but he's making a lot of enemies out here. And I mean, Kyle, now this one in Dover, and it's getting Talladega. It's really getting old with these guys.
And obviously these guys are competitors, but this is another Chevrolet driver. So
I don't care if he's driving a Chevrolet if he wrecks our cars. I don't care. And I've told Chevrolet that. If you wreck us, you're going to get it back. And if you don't do it, they'll run all over you. So, I'm loyal to Chevrolet, but when somebody runs over us, then I expect my guys to hold their ground. And I'm not going to ask them to yield just because it's a Chevrolet.
Jeff Gordon looks kind of scared the whole time. It's kind of funny. Anyway, what do you think about that?
I've got a lot of things to talk about.
I know you do, Norman.
First off, y'all know me, and what do I say? Race me how you want to be raced. And both those guys, through the whole race, were leading on each other the whole race. So when it comes to me, I can't point a finger at either one of them. Yes, did Ross end up making it worse? He leaned on him the hardest at the end, but you got to expect that ladder to be climbed, that you're going to start leaning on them more and more towards the end of the race. And they had already been leaning on each other earlier in that race. So you knew it. They even said it in the booth. They knew this was coming.
Yeah. They're like, oh.
Yeah. I knew it was coming. So on the post-race side, Ross, I don't know what he meant by this, but in his post-race interview when they got him coming out of the infield care center, he said, I'm the one talking to y'all. Who is it? And apologized he said, I just pushed too hard. And he claimed it. He said, I just pushed too hard and I wrecked myself. So you got to give the guy credit.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that point, I don't think he was saying anything, but I don't think he wanted to speak for anyone else. I think that's what he was trying to say when they asked him about, Larson. I think he was more like, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm here with you guys talking to you right now. He's not. So
yes, and that's what I think. But we had to put that out there. That's how I felt it went. Yes, Antonio.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really do think it's a racing deal, and I think the media is blowing this entire thing between Larson and Chastain out of proportion a little bit. They definitely do race each other hard. Like, it's one of those things where they're racing each other hard, and it's one of those like on track only battles to I'm thinking of a term and I can't think of it, so I'm gonna use battle. But it's one of those things where it's one of those drivers that you go race with every week that you don't like on the track of how they race now because of something they potentially could have done to you. So you're always going to run them harder, but you don't want to start something where you're intentionally dumping each other and stuff. Like, look at Larson. I mean, they didn't interview him this week, but the last times that his races have been ruined by him, I mean, Larson's like the most mellow dude I've ever met.
Yeah.
I've never met him, but you know what I mean? He's the most mellow dude ever. Like, he's super chill. He even admitted like it was a racing deal last time. We didn't get to interview him this time, but we did hear his in-car audio. I don't know if you guys did, but I did hear it. We can drop a link here in the media uploads channel on the Discord, so come check it out. But the guy that was most upset was his spotter. I mean, Larson came on the radio, he wasn't even mad. So I think it's just something that he knows they're racing each other hard and giving each other no room because they don't like each other that much, but it's not something that they're going to be wrecking each other week in and week out, I think. I think it's just going to be something that's eventually going to settle itself, but the media is going to blow it up because it's something that's in right now. It's a trend or whatever you want to call it,
And going back to the Hendrick interview, I think Rick Hendrick was the one who's out of line.
I agree. That's what I was going to say, too. You beat me to it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think Rick Hendrick is the one that stepped over the line. If you look, Jeff Gordon looks uncomfortable in that interview. He's like, what is this guy talking about? I don't know much about his history. All I know is Rick Hendrick came into NASCAR. He built a great team. It's dominated. But Jeff Gordon drove for Rick Hendrick, and Jeff Gordon looks like, dude, be quiet. Like, you're saying all the wrong things right now, is the feel that I got from Jeff Gordon on that. And I'm not a Jeff Gordon fan. I don't know if y'all get the same feeling.
Well, what I've gotten from other interviews I watched a lot on this, just trying to maybe open my mind up more, and get a different angle on it. But it sounds like Rick Hendrick, it takes a lot to get him riled up. I think that was kind of probably what the issue was, that, you get somebody who's usually low key and he's coming out saying, you keep messing with me, we're not going to, you're not going to win a championship, kind of, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I think Jeff's reaction was just because of the simple, it's, he's not used to, I don't think, him coming out verbally like that. But I'm not either. And the way I took it as, oh, big Mr. H, you know what I'm saying? Big Mr. H, he done, said something, so now we all got to bow down, and I do not like that at all. I've never been one of those that anybody's bigger than the sport. So, anyways, just that's
no,
on that.
I agree 100%. I felt that he stepped over the line, and that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it, just like you are entitled to it. And
man, NASCAR's got what is that? North Wilkesboro.
North
Wilkesboro.
That's going to be fun.
Saturday. It's Saturday night, right?
All-Star race. Hey, Harvick's bringing back the 29, boys.
I saw that.
He's bringing back the 29.
You know what happened last All-Star race? I'm just saying.
It is. Then the race is Saturday night, right?
That's going to be fun.
Coming this week is the NASCAR All-Star race. This can take place at North Wilkesboro Speedway. The return is happening. They did rebuild it. Big shout out to Dale Jr. and all the people that made that possible. So for once we're going to be back there. I know Norman's going to love that because he's ancient. So and so is that Speedway. So let's roll into how the format works real quick to make it nice and easy for you. So on Friday, we're going to have practice. So just your normal practices, nothing crazy. Second, we're going to roll into qualifying on the Friday as well. So it is going to be a pit crew based qualifying. So it's going to be based off of the pit crew challenge that they always do. So it'll be a 4-tire pit stop, no fuel. The results will determine the starting lineups for the All-Star Heat races and the All-Star Open. Following that, we go to Saturday, which, just a truck race, normal. Then we go to All-Star Heat number 1 and Heat number 2. So the Heat races will be 60 laps each. Results of the Heat race 1 will be determining the inside row. We've seen this before with the duels and the Daytona 500, so it'll be same thing. Results for Heat race number 2 will obviously determine the outside row. Another thing, actually, sorry, Dave, cut that shit. Sunday will be the All-Star Open. So the All-Star Open will be a 100-lap race with a competition break around lap 40. The teams will start on sticker tires and have one additional set in the pits. Following the All-Star Open, we'll move into the All-Star Race. So All-Star Race Field will be determined by the 2022 and 2023 NASCAR Cup Series points race winners. The past All-Star Race winners and NASCAR Cup Series championships will also be taking 2 drivers from the All-Star Open, so that'll be the top 2, and then a NASCAR fan vote winner, aka Chase Elliott, will probably be in the race as well. So it'll be a 200-lap race. All laps will be counting. There will be a competition break on or around lap 100. Each team will begin on sticker tires, have 3 additional sets to use, but following the competition caution, only 1 set of stickers will be used. So it'll make for a competitive format. We're looking forward to it. It'll be a good race like it always is. Hopefully my boy Ryan Blaney can take it home like he did last time we were out here for the All-Star race. So taking home the $1 million. So who's going to win? I don't know. We're going to have to find out.
I think we've said enough on this, and I think it's time to move on to IndyCar.
Ryan Blaney.
Indy, baby.
Indy at the Indy Grand Prix this week. So it's the road course at Indy. So we run the front stretch backwards, which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Qualifying was crazy. I don't know if y'all noticed how many good cars started from behind 12th place. And y'all know how Indy qualifying works, right?
Mostly. It's not the easiest thing to follow. But
so
I get
you
it.
have 2 sets that qualify. 2. We got in this race we have 13 and 14. So you had 13 cars and 14 cars qualified. The top 6 move on to the top 12. Then from there, from the top 12, the top 6 move on to final qualifying. So, to give y'all, Colton Herta, Scott McLaughlin, Newgarden, Simon Pagenaud, all didn't make the Fast 12.
Knocked out,
All knocked out in the first round. Now, put it this way, there are 2 qualifying rounds for that, but it was 13 cars and 14 cars, but they all didn't make it out of the qualifying group, and they all weren't in the same qualifying group. Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta were all in the same qualifying group. So that means Simon Pagenaud and Newgarden were in the first qualifying group. They all didn't make it out, so they all had to start in the back of the field. Not in the back of the field, but towards the end of the field, in the bottom 12.
So they kind of knocked each other out, so to speak. Just by the way they all lined up, huh?
Yes. Yes. So we were already messed up in how qualifying went this week. But I feel like this track for IndyCar is a driver's track. Well, that's a wrong term. I feel like it's a track that anyone can come to compete at. So when it comes to race pace, it's not that hard for them to put down a great lap. So I think that's why we saw this week in qualifying and how it worked out. But getting on to the more interesting fact, we had, like I said, Christian Lundgaard starting on pole, his first career pole this week.
Awesome.
Yes, Rosenqvist starting second and Palou starting third. Moving on from there, awesome start, 5 wide spread out down the front stretch of Indy going into T1. And Palou was able to push Lundgaard past Rosenqvist and try to take him on the outside, and Lundgaard shut him down. But before the end of lap 1, Palou on the soft reds, Lundgaard on the hard blacks, Palou got around him. I think that was the ultimate strategy. I think you need to start on reds up front. I think the blacks would have been better to start on towards the back. I'm not a race engineer. I don't know, but that's the feel I got.
It's also Alex Palou versus Christian Lundgaard.
Yes.
Which he took pole, but...
Yes. But Lundgaard came back at him towards the end of the race and got the lead back when he went to reds and Palou was on blacks. So I think if Lundgaard could have opened the gap up early, he could have done something. But that's hearsay because it didn't happen.
Yeah. It was a good race.
The interesting point is early in the race, we had Romain try to take over Stingray Robb. down there, what I call the back straight, and tried to outbrake him, and they got into a chicken fest. And Stingray Rob took out his teammate Davis Malukas. And
Stingray move.
yeah,
Total Stingray move.
but Romain wouldn't have made the turn either. So it was very interesting. Romain went wide into the grass and made it around the wreck. So no one talks about him.
It was not good by either driver there. That was a big error on both parts. I agree. But it's another one of those, it's kind of like Stingray. Seems like every race there's something,
Yeah. So
Dang it.
It was. I'm not going to say that Romain was out of anything. I think he antagonized him to do that and kind of had the idea that, hey, if I don't break, I go in the grass. If he doesn't break, he goes into his teammate. So, but what we call the caution and we get back going. And I think the more controversy call is, but just because how the announcer said it was Power versus Kirkwood. T1 and T2. I thought watching the review, I thought that was all on Kirkwood. NBC tried to say that Power pushed him out, but from how deep Kirkwood came into that, I blame Kirkwood.
No, I agree on that one. Yeah, that was yet again not a smart racing move. I mean, you're going to get those during the race, but those are pretty big.
Yeah. So, Kirkwood did end up getting the penalty, which NBC had kind of talked about he didn't deserve. I thought it was his fault. So it was. And no caution from that. It just spun Power. And Kirkwood got the penalty. He served his penalty. Long story short, the race goes on. The race went pretty good from that point on. Then you had, the battle between Lengard and Palou on the tire strategy for when they swapped tires. Lengard tried to come back at Palou. He did. But long story short, Alex had the tire strategy. And then from there, Lengard just fell off. And the McLaren Aero boys came alive. There was nothing they could do to touch Palou, but Pato O'Ward and Alexander Rossi were able to get Lengard. So you had a Alex Palou first, Pato O'Ward second, Alexander Rossi third, then Lengard. But I think you got to look at your Joseph Newgardens, your Colton Hertas, all finishing top 11, coming back from terrible qualifying results.
I feel like what I'm trying to say is the guys who stand out in IndyCar still stood out in this race for me, even though they didn't do well in qualifying. I don't know. I mean, and also Indy Road's also always kind of a weird race. But I'll be honest, I had a very busy weekend, so I watched extended highlights and interviews and things. But the narrative of the race was that Alex Palou was relatively dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And our boy Pato O'Ward taking second again. Maybe one day, Pato. Maybe one day. And then I'll buy your hat because I really like your logo.
No, his logo's badass. But
I know.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the drivers, the cream came to the top in the race. And I don't know if it's drivers or is it the teams that push their drivers to the top that kind of know how to run the strategy better. I'm starting to get
I'm starting to get
I'm starting to get that
at the
feeling.
top of the top. I mean, yeah, sure. The teams play a factor in every sport. I mean, you see it in every, whether it's, soccer or football or football for, but like it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, in any sports program, the team matters. But IndyCar is kind of back, so
yeah, but your Ganassi's, your Penske's, your Andretti's are going to have the best race engineers on the box.
Yeah, and that matters.
So
I don't think it makes a guy like Pato O'Ward consistently get second place though.
No, but I'm telling you, it puts you having a bad qualifying day running for one of those teams able to jump up into the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
I think that's why we see the New Gardens and the Colton Hertas sitting in the top 10 right now. And for this race,
it was really cool to see Christian Lundgaard up there, elbows out, doing his thing. I was really happy to see him up there battling. And didn't Roman finish like 10th or 11th out
11th.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Started 18th? Yeah, started 18th.
Got stingrayed.
Yeah,
bummer. Anyway, it was good. I thought it was a good race. It's a good way to kick off the month of May. And Alex Palou was really strong, taking second last year in the Indy 500. So maybe he'll get her done this year.
We also had the Indy Next Series presented by Firestone running this week with them. Our boy Josh Green started 6th, finished 6th. Just want to give a shout out to him. But I guess it's time to move on to the IMSA race at Laguna Seca, which I don't know how many of y'all caught it, but I felt was a actually fun race to watch. It was only 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but we'll move on to it.
I love Laguna Seca. I love that track. I don't know why. I guess probably because I was on a bunch of video games when I was a kid.
Because it's awesome.
But I love the track. I do love the track.
Laguna Seca is awesome.
Been trying to get somebody to run an F3 league there somewhere. You know what I mean? But
all right, now you want to fight?
I mean, I could show up to a race. That would probably help. But anyways, Laguna Seca.
Yeah. I was gonna say, man. I was like, you ain't even here, bro. Come on. But no, dude, I like that. I mean, I'm sure Norman's got a bunch of notes on it, but I really like the guy that got forced to enter the pits. That was pretty great. I can't lie. He unwillingly was boxing the slap, and that was hilarious. But anyways, I'll let Norman go on to spiel.
I don't know how much y'all caught of the race. The start was crazy. The Wayne Taylor racing car, starting third, got around the number 2 Porsche and forced the number 1 Porsche to major lockup into turn 1. I think that had to be over 100 feet lockup. I haven't seen something that big in a while. Rear left locked up. So it was a crazy start, but I think we made it a couple laps into the race for the first caution came out. We had a caution. Honestly, don't remember what it was for, but I remember we had an early caution. But getting back to what Antonio said, we were right there, probably halfway between pit stops. No one was pitting yet, and we'd caught GT3 lap traffic for the GTMs. And I don't know what the Porsche was thinking. I think he thought that the GT3 was going to let off, and he didn't. The Porsche came down into the last turn and pushed the GT3 off into pit lane, ruining their race. They ended up getting a penalty for it. Not unfortunate. It was all their fault. Again, NBC tried to claim that it wasn't the Porsche's fault, but you got to know when there's a car to your inside that you can't try to make a pass into the final turn with how that pit road is. I want to kind of take a step back here. I don't know if y'all noticed this. I know y'all didn't notice this, but Laguna Seca coming out of the corkscrew all the way through to the second to final turn has new runoff for about 5 feet.
Oh, no, I didn't notice that.
So now if you run wide, oh, whoop-de-freaking-do. you're not in the sand.
I was going to say used to is a death trap pretty much because those corners were very technical.
And I'm kind of upset about that, but we can touch on that later or we can move on from it.
I think they did it for multi-class because there's not enough places at Laguna Seca to overtake GT traffic. Because I noticed there was a lot of GT traffic figuring out happening straight out of the corkscrew. Because the LMDH cars or the DPI, what are they?
GTP.
GTP. Yeah.
GTP.
Yeah,
GTPs,
the chat GTP cars.
Or LMDHs. Which one do you want? You choose LMDHs or GTPs?
It's GTP.
All right, well,
GTP is what they call it.
The chat GPT cars were really like straight out of the corkscrew, though. They could get on the gas. I mean, it was impressive. And near the end of the race, when Hardy, right, in the Porsche was trying to catch
Whaling.
the Cadillac.
The whaling.
Right. Yeah, at the end of the race, like a lot of the work was getting done out of the corkscrew, which it's not like I'm a race car driver. I just drive in the sim. But when you race at Laguna Seca, like the layouts we're running now with not the runoff, like that's just not possible. Like, I mean, it is, but it's like horribly dangerous coming out of the corkscrew to go on the outside of a GT car around that left-hander and keep pace, so I mean, I get why they did it, if that's why they did it.
I have a question. So, well, one I did see the runoff changes, and I thought it was quite odd too, because I do think, as Norman said, there's nothing to punish you for running wide anymore, and I think a lot of places are going to pave runoff. And while I understand they are safer, it does kind of change the entire dynamic of the track. It's not as, I don't know. It's the risk reward is now a finer margin. Like it's like you can risk a lot more and get a lot more reward kind of thing. So anyways,
Moving on, more impressive where they didn't have runoff was down the front stretch. And that did not hold back from the GTPs passing the leading Corvette GT3 down the front stretch 3 wide through the dirt, which I thought was pretty impressive. I think it was the Meyer Shank Acura 60 and the Porsche pushing the Corvette 3 wide down the straightaway. And the Acura was the one that went in the dirt, and I don't see how he held onto the car because he all 4 tires through the sand around him, which I thought was pretty impressive. So, we get into that. We have another late race caution. I think it was because the Porsche 07 went wide coming out, came to the corkscrew in the turn after the corkscrew, lost it, tried to save it, and couldn't hold on to it, and just buried into the wall. He sideswiped the wall, putting debris all over the track, couldn't get on the pit lane. Car was destroyed. I do have to say on this point, and this is going to get into the sim side, they replaced the front fender, the rear fender and wing, and the engine cover, all within 40 seconds, and put the car back on the track because there was no damage to the suspension.
In iRacing, that would have been 15 minutes, bro. 15 minutes of repairs, no doubt.
So, I'm just saying, come on, iRacing. If a car can replace a panel, let them replace the panel.
that's one of those come on now, dog moments.
Come on now, dog.
But
that's funny.
I know coming out of the caution, it was a lap after the caution. The 01 ends up taking the lead. There was 4 minutes and 30 probably seconds left in the race. The Cadillac 01 takes the lead, and he doesn't turn back. It was a dominant performance by them. They didn't have qualifying speed, but they said they had race pace, which shows that a great start to May for Ganassi. Ganassi winning Indianapolis Grand Prix and winning the Long Beach race with IMSA, which is huge. Ganassi will be running the 01 and the 02 both at Le Mans, and Whaling will be running the 311, I want to say, at Le Mans.
Love to see it. Ford couldn't do it.
Ford done race, you dummy.
I had to start.
That was funny.
You took your shot. Took your shot.
Bang,
America,
it
baby.
landed. Oh, man. That's so funny. Well, it's good to see Cadillac doing well. I'm excited to see what they can do at Le Mans.
Hey, Antonio, since you're taking shots, who beat who in both races of League Zero?
Yeah. We'll see how it goes
Me?
at Imola, okay? If you even show up, you might be too scared. Speaking of League Zero, we have round 1. I'll briefly just go over it. It's a good race. We went to, well, not for me, man, but anyways. That was my first time back on the Watkins Glen, the new scan. I know I'm pretty outdated with X. I think, didn't it get scanned like a year or two ago? It was a while ago, but anyways, first time back on that. That was awesome. Fun track. Great time. Classic boot layout, too. That's a fun time in a Formula car, let me tell you.
It is.
Apparently, a lot of guys like the oh my gosh, what's it called?
Gang.
The bus stop included. But
Yeah.
me personally, I'm a no bus stop guy in a Formula car. NASCAR, I'll take the bus stop every day of the week, but Formula cars, I'm not about that life. But that's about it. I mean,
Dave wish he had the bus stop on the sprint race.
this
We don't
yeah,
talk
he
about
does.
that. Nah, we're good. We don't need to talk about that.
Dave forgot what a corner was for a bit there.
No. Oops.
But after round 1 in the standings, we got TGS on top for the team championship, and then drivers championship. None other than the returning champion Finley on top. They're new points format too, so that'll be cool to see how that plays out throughout the duration of the season. I'll just quickly run through who won what race, and that's about it. So first race, our winner was Finley, and I think he won the second race too, didn't he? Actually, no, I don't think he did. I think Reed won the second race. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good race overall. Nothing crazy. We're going to Imola next week, running in line with F1. So check us out Thursday night on Team Goon Squad. Also shout out to our boys Team Goon Squad. Check them out, teamgoonsquad.com, leaguezero.net. Check us out, and see you guys hopefully there Thursday nights at 9 Eastern we start racing, so check us out.
Yeah, speaking of Imola, I mean, like you said, right in line with F1. So that ties us right into
The
F1.
Formula One Qatar Airways Grand Primo del Made in Italy El del Emilia Romagna Grand Prix of 2023 coming
You
up.
practiced that 10
Boom.
times and you still botched it, but it's
I
okay.
know. It kind of hiccup, but
The
it was a
Formula
really good
One
run.
Qatar
I liked
Airways Grand Primo del Made in Italy e del Emilia Romagna in 2023 coming at you.
Featuring
that,
Grojo.
that was the widest. That was the widest,
You need,
or
you need
the
the
most
redneck
American.
to say that?
Yeah, that was the most American way to say
Bang.
that. It should be that way.
The Formula One Qatar Airways Grand Primo del Italy coming at you.
Hey, let's get our Italian to say it.
I was going to say we got an Italian on here.
All right, hold on. Let me pull it up. I got to look
We
at
had
the
the
name
Texans say it.
The Formula One Qatar Airways Grand Primo del Made in Italy.
Or Imola
E del
2023,
Emilia
like I was going to say.
Romagna 2023 coming at you.
is. Send me the name. I
Racing.
got to see it. What is it called?
Racing for Grandjo.
Racing.
Oh, okay, here it is. All right, we have the Formula One Qatar Airways Grand Prix del Made in Italia e del Emilia Romagna 2023. That's the best I could do. That is
Made
a
in
mouthful,
Italy,
dude.
Dell.
That is a
Does that mean
mouthful. Why
like
did they-
Dell Computers?
No, my.
Dell. That's
No.
and Dell, right?
Well, it just says
Isn't that a
Dell. I think
singer?
I botched it and said E. Oh, no. I
That's
see what you're
Adele.
saying. Italia,
It's the
Dell.
Qatar Airways
Yeah.
Grand Prix of Made in Italy and Dell Emilia Romagna, right? That's what the translation is, right? E
I'll have no
is
clue.
and, right? In Italian?
Oh my gosh, here we go. Here
Yes.
we go.
See? So it's in Dell computers.
Del means of.
Oh,
So I think it's
Dell
made in
and
Italy. Of Emilia Romagna. I think it's just like how they formatted. If you were to say like,
it's not
you
like
know, we say
E
like
Lenovo.
yeah, you know how you can say like I live in British Columbia, Canada, whereas for them it's kind of
Soy day. I get you.
yeah. It's a Soy Antonio. Anyway, hell, let me hit this one more time. Hold on. Formula One Qatar Airways Gran Premio del Made in Italia e del Emilia Romagna 2023.
Ooh.
That's the best I can do.
That was very nice,
That's
sir.
pretty slick. That was pretty slick. Pretty slick.
I felt it.
I know there's probably some Italian man listening like, get this white dude out of here.
Get this white dude out of here.
Oh, it's me and Mario. What are you doing?
I could say it and just butcher it. So
No, we're good. We're good. There's gonna be a gonna be a Granjo in there somewhere. Del made in Granjo.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh God.
If it happens, hey guys, sorry to let you know, but a couple days after we recorded this episode, we found out that the Imola, the Emilia Romagna, Saudi, it doesn't matter anyway, is canceled due to really heavy rains and very serious flooding in the area. So first of all, thoughts and prayers go out to all of those fine folks in Italy. We hope that you can take care of your family and get everyone safe. Racing doesn't matter when you put it up next to these type of things. So we're totally fine with the decision, first of all. And second of all, good luck to all the F1 guys getting all of their stuff back and loaded. I saw some pretty nasty pictures of that place. But anyway, our hearts go out to the people in Italy and the staff and everyone in Formula One. And we hope to see you back on track soon. If it happens.
Yeah, well, it's back to the regular format of practice, qualify, race. So that's good.
Hallelujah.
But
yeah, I mean,
that sprint race garbage out here.
But Dave did let us in on a little tidbit of information. Just from recording this a couple of hours previous. Little change to the qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought Levi was the F1 guy, but then Dave informed us that
he's dropping some facts on you. So traditionally,
he's in fact not up to par.
Yeah, I was like, hey guys, did you know this new Formula One fact? I specifically looked it up to make Levi feel like. Anyway, okay, so I'm just kidding.
Poor guy's just getting
so
destroyed.
No, traditionally in Formula One qualifying, the tire you use in Q2 or the second qualifier is the one that you need to use in the race. Not just the compound, but the specific set that you set your fastest lap on. For reasons that I'm sure I could clarify, but will become more clear as the week goes on, so I will not do that now. In Q1, you have to start on hards now. In Q2, we have to be on mediums, and in Q3, we have to be on soft compound tires. The implications of this, I think, are going to be huge, because as we've seen through the season, these tire compounds don't do exactly what you think they're going to do when you think they're going to do it. Sometimes the hard is faster than the medium. Anyway, I think that we could see some people squeak through into Q2 on hard tires that maybe shouldn't be there, possibly, or wouldn't be there if everyone were on softs instead. But yeah, I think it's a big change. Do I like it? I don't know. I kind of dug the getting a preview of Sunday on Saturday, getting to see like, oh man, like, Valtteri's starting on hards, like he's going to go for the long, like cool, I dig it. But now we kind of have to wait for Sunday for that. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Levi.
Well, unfortunately, we probably won't get to see any of it play out. Imola for 2021-22, both wet races, wet qualifying off and on, wet practices.
This one,
it's just one of those tracks that turns that way. On the same note, they did take away 2 sets of wet tires. Now, I don't know, they didn't really specify on anything that I could find. Intermediates, full wets, I don't know, green, blues, how many of each they get or get taken away, maybe one of each, but they went from 13 sets per team or per car to 11 sets, which isn't a big deal. I think that's still plenty to do whatever you need to do. yeah, it's a weird one for them to pull this out because, like I said, it's been in the recent history, it's been a wet weekend, But I'm hoping that we do get to see it. Like I said, I'm with you on it. The whole thing they're falling behind is why they're happening. This is because of Pirelli was wanting to make less of a carbon footprint, and this helps them with that. 40-something tires a weekend will be saved, and over 1,000 moving around the world, and all that green stuff that we as a racing podcast don't care about. We want petrol, we want fast, we want lots of horsepower.
All right, so I'm just going to run through what the article actually says here. We want to make sure we're giving you the correct information here. So in quotations, this is straight off of racingnews365.com, how F1 qualifying is changing for Imola, so check it out. But so in Q1, the drivers will be forced to take the white-walled hard tires, with those advancing through to Q2 only permitted to run on the yellow-walled and medium compound. The 10 who make it through to the pole position shootout will then have a chance to run the soft tires. The time limits will remain unchanged. Moreover, the total number of dry tires available to each driver is reduced from 13 sets to throughout the weekend to 11. And this is factual. They did say, with a 20-car grid in mind, a total of about 1,000 tires a year would not have to be created or shipped. This is huge for their carbon footprint. And if you do the math, you take 20 drivers times it by 2, get 40, multiply that by 23 races, that gives you almost 1,000. I think it's like 960 or somewhere in that regard. So that's pretty huge.
So they got rid of a small town discount tire. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, is it something I wanted to see change? I mean, not really. I'm open to trying it and seeing how it goes. I think it'll be weird because you won't be able to have that Q2 strategy to get through, but also have your preferential tires. So it'll be a bit strange. It doesn't specify which race. It just says here, it is to be used at one further race later in the 2023 season once Pirelli has had the chance to evaluate the data gathered with potential introduction for additional races possible for 2024. Pirelli has also announced that we bring an updated specification of tire for all races starting at the British Grand Prix. So that's about all we got on there. I'm just quickly reading over it.
Yeah, that article I've actually touched on at least the last part of it, and all it pretty much does is end up saying that they're going to make a change, starting with Silverstone, that'll kind of, on the tire, we don't really know what it is, they didn't give any specifications, and that will be an upgrade to the tire for 2024. So.
I think the goal is with that tire specification, this is stepping away from what they're talking about in qualifying really quick, but with their updated tire specification, they're talking about, we all know this from NASCAR, different track surfaces wear tires differently. And however, fast you might be running there in F1 for sake. If a place like Suzuka might absolutely murder your tires in comparison to somewhere like Monza or something. I don't know, I could be totally wrong with that statement. But
Monza, I get you. Tracks are
tracks
are great diamond graded. Some aren't. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. There's different surfaces, so you can't really just have. You might not be able to do with just the 5 compounds they have. You might need something that can really take a beating and have actual differences rather than just we have the C3, 4, and 5, but actually this weekend the only tire anybody actually wants to use is the C5 because it's the best one, kind of thing, right? So I think they're going to try and fix that. From what I've been reading, that's how it comes across to me. So, and I think Norman's got something to say.
Yeah. And y'all can hate on me all y'all want.
Let's just go back to... Sorry, I had to.
Why don't we just go back to the teams choosing the tires they want to take?
Well, I think this is a carbon footprint issue for Pirelli that F1's trying to help them with in the FIA. It's to look good on the carbon footprint, you guys.
Well,
but
yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Yay.
I like how teams used to choose, I'm going to take 1 hard, I'm going to take 5 mediums, and I'm going to take, what would that be? I'm going to take 6 softs. So now I know coming in the race, I got 2 sets of softs and 1 set of mediums, and that's what I'm going to run.
Man,
and that could hurt you, or it could be great.
Man, I bet you the burger stand at the Miami Grand Prix put out more carbon than 1 extra tire set did.
I think we should talk about it. Huh?
I think Dave wants to talk about it.
I'm dying, guys. I'm dying to talk about it. I've been upset with, and I don't want to...
So let's just set it up for a little bit there. You just kind of dive into tires and burgers.
You're
what's
right.
going on here.
All right. Yeah, I'm venting.
Come on now.
You're right.
He's venting, so I'm going to slow
you're right,
down.
You're right.
So
first of all,
don't Ross Chastain
okay.
it. All right, don't just.
I'm just gonna throw it
I
in the
think
wall,
I see
baby.
steam coming out of his ears right now.
So first of all, like Formula One, I get it. We want to reduce the carbon footprint. We want to save the whales. Like if we don't change the way we're doing things, we may be underwater at the Miami Grand Prix. Like I get it. And if you're trying to set an example for, I don't know, kids or other racing series, I don't really know who Formula One's trying to set an example for. Everyone? Maybe? I think it's a bad example. But the point is like, you're reducing 1,000 tires a year, okay? So if you're a tire shop that does 250 cars a year, then that's all the impact we're having. Let's talk about ticket prices. And I don't want this to be me just complaining, but it is me complaining a little bit. Really what I would like to do is open this up for discussion amongst the guys here and you guys. If you're listening to this, please tune in. I would love to hear what you have to say. If you disagree with what I'm saying, if you think that maybe I just don't get it, that's very possible. Please let me know, and I would love to discuss it with you further to try to learn. But the way that it looks to me as a consumer of this product, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a product for people to consume. So what am I talking about here? Let's look at some stats going back to the inaugural race as we know it in 2012. We know that there was other races in the US. We know that this, whatever. But if we're talking about, if you look at inflation rates, and because this is a broad topic, if we go any further back than like 2005, it's kind of not relevant because it was a different world. Like time moves really fast now. And so like talking about like, oh, well, ticket prices in 2000, like it doesn't matter. So there's some stats from 2005, but for the most part, this is from 2012 to now, even more specifically 2018 or 19 to now is all you need to look at. But let's look at Austin just a little bit. And if you guys have any questions or want to butt in, please do. But 2012 was the inaugural race in Austin, Texas for the Formula One Grand Prix, the United States Formula One Grand Prix. Took place at Circuit of the Americas. 3-day general admission for that race was $159. That was from Formula One's website. Now, through all these numbers, there's like, keep in mind, there's a huge black market for this stuff. And whatever homeboy was selling for on Facebook Marketplace is irrelevant to these stats. These are all pulled from public sources that report their income and report their sales. So if you look at like, and I'm going to leave Saturday and Sunday because Formula One typically offers 3 tickets. They offer a 3-day general admission, a 2-day general admission, which is Saturday and Sunday, and then a Sunday only. The 3-day reserved grandstand seats in 2012 were anywhere between $269 to $499. This is just general grandstand seating. This is not club or you get to hang out with Nicki Minaj or whatever. This is just like normal seating. You're going to spend $270 to $500 plus tax. There were 250,000 scans at the inaugural race. That was over a 3-day period. There was an estimated 114,000 people at the race itself on Sunday. It's a deceiving number when Formula One shows their weekend attendance. That means how many times were tickets scanned at the front gate. So if you have a 3-day ticket, you count 3 times to that number. So those like, we had 600,000 people like, or weekend attendance. And then you kind of hear it on Twitter, like there was 500,000 people there. Like, no, there wasn't.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
No.
I've always wondered if that was factual.
No, there
like
wasn't. That's how many
that.
scans were at the front gate. From Friday to Sunday. And that includes the concerts because like, and I'll get there. But if you look at the US GP, a lot of times people bought the ticket just to go to the concert. They didn't even go to the race. So anyway, 2012, pretty great inaugural race at COTA overall. 250,000 people through the gates. We had over 100,000 people at the race. Pretty big deal. And the ticket price is pretty modest, $159. I would happily pay that today. It's important to mention that inflation is a factor here, and inflation has like gone up on average on the US dollar at least about 32% from 2012 till now. So a dollar then is about $1.32 today. Think of it like that. So this same ticket would have been worth like $200 today. So would you pay $200 to go to COTA? Yeah, I think so. I would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. No problem. So 2013 ticket prices went up $10. It was $169 for general admission, grandstand seating $299 to $499. That was for the front straight, turn one, the stadium section, and the back hairpin. There was same 250,000 scanned. I did not find race day attendance estimate because those are estimates because they really don't. The amount of people that came through the gate on Sunday is kind of like a COTA number that COTA reports. And so like I was able to find it for other years, but not all years. Anyway, point is 2014, we saw the same ticket price, $169 general admission for 3 days, but attendance was down 11% at 237,000 tickets scanned at the front gate over the weekend. 2015, same deal. No price change, didn't go up or down. It was $169. Attendance down again 5 or 10% year over year. So people were losing interest in Formula One. 2016, they had Taylor Swift, which was the turning point in this story. Taylor Swift changes everything. Just ask your friends if they've gone and seen Taylor Swift on her Echoes tour right now. They will say yes. Like this chick
Dude, I want to see Taylor Swift.
She pulls people. It's insane. It's insane.
Dude, I want to go see Taylor Swift. Dude.
She's amazing. I've seen her twice. Anyway, I did not see her in 2016. But they lowered the ticket price to a flat $150 for general admission for 3 days, and they had Taylor Swift included in that ticket. And they saw record attendance. It was up 20% year over year, and they scanned over 250,000 tickets through the gate. 2017, 18, and 19 followed the same formula. They had big bands and big artists, and they saw increases in attendance year over year, but not to exceed 300,000 over the entire weekend. So the point of all of that is from 2012 to 2019, it went up and down, but mainly went down to start. The ticket price was always no more than $170 for general admission for 3 days. The grandstand tickets were about the same, like $300 to $600, no more than that. This is to 2019, guys. This is just 4 years ago. At that current moment, the global average for general admission 3-day tickets in the entire world across all Formula One races was $161 per ticket. And currently at COTA in 2019, well, not currently, but at that moment in 2019 at COTA, the ticket price was $169. So we were just over the global average of ticket price. Not a big deal, right? Like everything's cool. So then COVID hits. And more importantly, this is the second season of Drive to Survive. Drive to Survive came out in 2019. So like people who went to the COTA race in 2019, that was like the first people who got exposed to Drive to Survive. Then we had the whole pandemic to obsess over this stuff. And this is where we start seeing it go downhill. So 2021, they estimated 130,000 people at the race. That's on race day. Keep in mind, like all of these numbers I've been saying are divided by 3. So like if you had 250,000 people there was like 70,000-ish, 75,000 people at the race, usually. So they expected 130,000 at the race. They had 140,000 in 2021. There was almost, it was like 380 something thousand people over the course of the weekend. It was a huge increase, like 20% year over year increase. General admission tickets were $210, 170 to 210. Like, okay, whatever, big deal. That's not a deal breaker, especially if you're going from New York or Los Angeles or wherever to see this race. Like, okay, whatever, $40, who cares? Lower trackside seating was like $695. Better grandstand seating was like $800. Still reasonable, but expensive, getting more expensive. This is where we start tipping the scales, and it happened all at once. So last year in 2022, we had 440,000 people over the course of the weekend. That's a record. general admission sold out in advance, like almost immediately. I was one of the people sitting in line, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in just a moment. But there's a thing in Formula One called dynamic pricing. And it's not like their thing. It's a thing that exists in all sports ticket sales and ticket sales in general. But demand jurisdicts price in real time. So if there's a bunch of people trying to buy tickets, the ticket price goes through the roof. And that makes people stop buying tickets, right? So in 2022 is when we really saw the dynamic pricing model get instituted into COTA ticket sales. It's always been there, but the demand was never high enough to make it do what it does. And in 2022, general admission, the wait time to just be able to buy a ticket was over 4 hours. I sat in line. I honestly never got to the front of the line. By the time I did, all general admission was sold out. It was about $259 for a general admission ticket in 2022 last year. And the price was going up about $100 a day with their dynamic pricing model. So if you weren't there dropping, $300 with tax and fees day one, you were spending $400 to $500 on day 2 and 3 and so on until they sold out. Anyway, so we come to this year, and we'll talk about Miami too, but let's talk about Austin coming up because the tickets are for sale right now. If you go to Formula One's website, general admission is $475 a person. That's just for a 3-day general admission ticket. Keep in mind, in 2012, all the way to 2019, this price stayed at $170 or less. 7 years. It's a long time. And now just over the last 1 year, last year it was $259 and now it's $475 a person. We've seen almost an 80% increase or more in the ticket price of general admission. Don't even get me started on grandstand seats. Turn 4 grandstands, you want to sit middle of the line grandstands and get like a lanyard, it's like $1,800. It's insane. It's insane. And if you look at Miami Grand Prix, 3-day general admission for this recent Grand Prix was $590 a person. Yeah, day of the race, you could snag tickets for basically nothing, but that's every sporting event. Even if it's the Super Bowl, like 10 minutes before the Super Bowl starts, outside of the Super Bowl, you could snag a pretty cheap ticket. But if you're just trying to get your ticket, get everything in line, book your hotel, do it right, that's kind of the prices I'm talking about. So Miami was $590 for a 3-day admission to the campus is what they called it. They had 270,000 people there. That was 30,000 more than last year. So looking at these numbers on a broad spectrum, we see a lot of growth. Formula One is coming up in the US. But at what point is too much? I guess from you guys' eyes as fans, what's the tipping point for you? Where is too expensive? And Austin is in my own backyard. I mean, if we're comparing Austin to Italy, and I guess real quick before we move on, let's compare Austin to Italy. So general admission to Imola this weekend for a 3-day pass is $140, 3 days. If you want grandstand seats, it'll run you, I think I saw like $250. It's not a big deal. It's like really moderate pricing. So that makes Austin and Miami, if you look at them on a list of Grand Prix over the years and priced out, I mean, like Miami is like about 92% of the price of Monaco. Monaco is still the most expensive Grand Prix on the calendar, but Miami is the second most expensive. And so as a fan, what's up? As an American fan, like how do you guys feel? Or even Canadian, how do you guys feel about this? Because I feel pushed out. I don't feel like I can reasonably support the sport that I love so much. And the reason why I loved it to begin with is because I got to fall in love with it on TV and then go stand in the pits at COTA and see a Ferrari in front of me. And I felt like a child again, you know? And I feel like that's why a lot of us are racing fans, because they make us feel like little kids, man. It's a big engine that goes, you know? Like, I love that. makes me feel like a kid, and especially in times like now. I just said inflation's up 32% over the last 10 years. We need that thing to feel like a little kid. And so if you're going to price me out, I'm not interested, right? If you don't want me here, I don't want to be here. If this is going to be just Nicki Minaj and Serena Williams and Martin Brundle getting pushed around by bodyguards, then I don't want to be part of it. Like, it sucks. I want to go to a race with my dad. You know, I don't want to think about like, oh man, like these tickets are going to be for grandstands. And these are, turn 4 is bleacher grandstands, guys. These are not seats with cup holders. This is a bleacher seating. And you're paying $1,600 to $2,100 depending on if you're sitting higher or lower. Higher is more expensive. So like, I want to take my dad to a race. I don't want to sit in a lawn chair. I want to sit in a seat. It's going to run me $5,000 at the gate. So who is this for? It's not for me. And I don't want to speak for you guys, but I'm damn sure it's not for you either at that price.
Well,
so like who is this for?
It's for, hey, look at me on social media is my opinion. It's for the 1% if people want to get into that conversation. I'm not here to get into that conversation, but that's what I feel like it is.
Well, I am. Because if it is for the 1%, then is this the first year that we see attendance down? Because we've seen, and the answer is no, and I know that, and it's going to frustrate me. But the thing is in my head for Formula One, if you want to be successful and you want to be long term, you can't just try to get everyone to come to your race once. And if you look at their TV numbers, in 2018, they had about 550,000 people tuned in to watch the Austin Grand Prix. 550,000. That's nothing, dude. That's nobody. Nobody cared. I'll spare you the other years. Let's skip to 2022. They had 1.5 million. So we saw a 300% increase from 2018 to 2022. That's pretty staggering. So go ahead and give me a guess on what you think average viewership is for an NFL playoff game. Average. NFL playoffs. And this does not include the Super Bowl. It's just playoffs. Any given team for 2022, what do you think the average number of people that tuned in to watch NFL playoff game was? 28.4 million viewers on average tune in to watch NFL playoff games. 28.4 million. To give you perspective, the most viewed Formula One race of all time was Austin last year at 1.4 million. So there's literally no one cares. That's the truth.
I'll put it to you this way. If you want to jack up your prices, my cable provider already gives me ESPN. I'll watch it at home.
Yeah, and see, that's fine. And it's obvious that Formula One has money in many places. But one of the reasons why, if you go digging, because if we look at Silverstone last year, there was a big holdup, and this year, there's a big gripe coming out of Great Britain from all of the European fans on the pricing of Silverstone tickets because they went to that dynamic pricing model. And we saw prices jump from $150 to $400 American, like quickly, while people were waiting in line to buy tickets. But that doesn't even hold a candle to Austin prices or Miami prices. Like, it's absolutely insane. And I get it. Formula One in the US is not NFL or NBA. There's only 3 that happen per year. So let's compare it to the NBA Finals. There's at least 4 of those that happen per year. It's 2 teams, I get it. But if you're an NBA fan, you're kind of an NBA fan, right? Everyone wants to go to the NBA Finals. Like, it's kind of a big deal. If you wanted to go see the Golden State Warriors in 2019 play at Oracle Arena in Oakland, it was going to run you about $1,400 a ticket. Like I said, you want to sit in the bleachers in the sun at COTA, it's going to run you $1,600 to $2,100 a ticket. Formula One is excellent at making themselves bigger than their audience. And if you look at NASCAR on every weekend pulls in 2.5 to 3 million viewers. So every weekend, NASCAR is doubling Formula One numbers. And that's pitched as the biggest event in the U.S. It's the biggest deal ever. I am concerned that Formula One is pricing themselves out of their own market.
Yeah, I want to get Antonio's take on it being not... He watches, the American sport and everything else, but he is from another country. I would like to get his take. It's the closest thing we've got to an out-of-country guy. So
yeah, and sorry, that's a hell of a rant, but it's a lot to unpack because...
Well, I've got mine too, but I want to hear what he's got to say, and then I've got a little bit to add on it.
I think from a fan's perspective, it's completely unreasonable, especially for the people who are here before the big surge in popularity over the last, 4 or 5 years. I think it's very, very sad to see that, I'm probably not going to go to one because I just don't want to spend $2,000 on a ticket. And even that, I got to still get there. Even the Montreal race is expensive, man. It's not like it's just the U.S. races. It's just they try and milk the whole North American market. And I'll be honest with you, from a business perspective, I don't know if they're going for sustainability in the U.S., but I do really think that they see this surge in popularity and they're really all right, these guys got money and they want to spend it, and they like these big events that they can just post and be like, yeah, I was there, I'm so cool, I'm a influencer, I made it to this event that is so cool, I'm beside a Formula One car, I don't even know what it does, but I'm beside one. You know what I mean? They're just here, and they're happy to be there, and they're happy to give you $2,000 for your ticket. So I think F1's probably just looking at this and just being like, let's go milk this market. Why not? Who cares? We'll build these. We'll go to Miami, we'll go to Vegas, we'll go to they've been talking about New York. That might be something too. They're going where the people are who want to spend the most money. What are people doing in Miami? They're spending money. What are people doing in Vegas? They're spending money.
The intro in Miami just embodied all of this for me. And it's honestly, I wasn't that mad about it until that intro came along, and I was like, are they doing this for me? Does Formula One honestly think that they're doing this for us? Because if they think that, they're wrong. This is not what it's about. It
seems like this new way of thinking is sell your soul to be at a certain place so that I can have a certain picture or a certain post or whatever the case may be. It's just, I think the only people that hit F1 at some of these F1 races that care about the actual racing are the teams and the cars. And with the pre-race and all that stuff that went on at Miami, I mean, half of them are looking around like, what the hell are we doing?
What are we doing?
What is all this? What is this? I thought I was here to race, man.
Alonso smelling flowers all weekend.
I know. If you wanted to go see the Cowboys and the 49ers play in the divisional round last year, which is one of the most expensive divisional round ticket, general admission, get-in price $600.
But that's the problem. It's not priced for 4 people that are sitting here.
No, but that is because I think I would pay $600 to go to a divisional.
No. I'm talking about the F1. I'm talking about the F1.
Yeah, but that's the thing is how many of us are there? I mean, at least 400,000.
And you're putting that up. Yeah, and you're putting that up against divisional finals. This is just a race, bro.
I know. That's my point.
At the first of the season.
That's my point. It's who cares?
Yeah, I'm not going to see that.
And you know what pisses me off even more, though? What pisses me off even more is we're not even going to actual tracks. You're going to some street track or something they just put up. It's not like...
It's a spectacle.
Austin is an exception, but, why are we going to, Miami? Why
Miami isn't Long Beach, right?
Yeah.
It's not Long Beach. It's not a decent, good, iconic track.
So
it's trash.
Today I looked into booking 3 nights in Vegas... General admission to the race, just general admission. I did some round numbers for Ubers and food and booze and things like that. It's gonna be $9,000, man.
Boom. Yeah, and on top of that, it's another wonderful layout.
It's gonna be $9,000. Then I came up with
trash track.
I came up with $8,895 plus tax. That was for airfare from Texas to Vegas. 3 nights in the hotel because the hotels are $1,000 a night. It was going to be $9,000 per person. That was for one person. So that's what I mean. It's like, okay, so it's not for me. That's okay. Like, boo-hoo. Like, I'm Mr. Middle Class. Like, I can't afford it. Cool. But, like, who's it for then? You know?
Yeah, who's chopping 20 grand to go to an F1
and
race?
who's thinking now, like, I can't wait to take my kid to one of these? Because I'm not. I'm like, no, son, like.
I'd go to 20 NASCAR races for the price of one of those
Right.
tickets. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Right.
I'm just saying.
I have American friends. Like, I don't know anyone who's going to spend that kind of money year over year going to those races.
I don't think they care about that. I think Antonio was kind of onto something. I think they're going to milk until that well's dry.
If I had to spend $9,000 to go to Vegas, I'd rather spend $11,000 and go to Spa.
That's the thing. Like I said, like if you look at historical pricing of Formula One races over the years, Miami this year is the second most expensive general admission ticket ever. And I don't know if y'all saw the viral posts about like the menu prices.
Yes.
There was a little skewed about that because that was for a 4-person serving, but don't BS me. Like a watermelon and feta salad for 4 people, it's for 1 person. You know what I mean? Like it's a little dinky amount of food. Like here's a serving for you, sir. Like, and I mean, we're talking 200.
I saw a Wagyu steak sandwich that looked
it
like
was ham.
ham.
Yeah. And it was like
For $47.
$45. Yeah. And so
Wagyu ham, boys.
if you're gonna be the premier, and I guess this is my dig, if you're gonna be the premier of the premier, if you're gonna market yourself as the rich of the rich, the like Monaco, you know, like that, this is where all the famous people go, then don't serve me a ham sandwich when I pay $47 for Wagyu beef. It's just not sustainable. It's not going to work. I felt the same way at Coda in 2019. I mean, even though that price was half the price of the ticket now, it was like beer was like a tall boy beer was like $22. Is right.
Question.
Like, damn.
Can you not bring your own cooler in?
No.
Oh, wait, are you kidding me now?
No way.
Come on now. This isn't.
No, they don't allow you to
See no
bring-
Dale
They-
Earnhardt freaking
They
show.
don't allow
Okay,
you
what
to
are you
bring
This
doing,
is-
man?
water in, man. Kids,
This is Formula One.
my kid can barely walk, and his ticket costs as much as mine. Like, this is not NASCAR. That's
Come
the
on,
thing.
dude. This ain't no Budweiser, dude. We're Heineken, okay?
Hey.
They were $22.
I
We're
ain't
not
talking no NASCAR. I'm talking IndyCar.
Yeah, well, all
At
of those,
Barber, I could bring a whole cooler in my truck in,
yeah, all the racing series
pack
in the
my
US,
mini cooler,
the 24
walk
hours.
around the track. My kid, who is 15, gets in free, and I only pay $250 for the whole weekend.
Yeah,
Hey, we
24
can
hours
illegally
of-
drink. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding.
24 hours was $160 a person, and same deal. You can bring food and drinks in. Kids are free, like, and but the thing is, so I would like to say, like, well, Formula One's got it figured out, but it's obvious that when it comes to TV viewership, no one in the U.S. cares about Formula One. No one cares. Some people care. Half the amount that care about NASCAR care.
Our listeners care.
That's a true fact. And so I just
They don't care $9,000 if they care.
I wanted
No,
to
they don't.
segue this into, like, I guess
I like all us. Let's watch it on TV.
we're all passionate fans, right? Like, does this make you mad? Do you feel shut out by this a little bit? Because I do. Austin is close enough to me that I don't have to get a hotel. It's a long drive. It's 3.5 hours. But if I was serious, I could go to the race, come home. I could even see the Killers and Queen and come home and like be home at 2 or 3 in the morning and go back the next morning at 10 a.m. You know, but still, even if I did that, like, per person, it's gonna run, I mean, just thousands of dollars with food and drink.
Yeah, I mean, it's 9.5 hours away from me, so it's not that far.
Like,
you know what I mean? To go to a race.
it makes me
But
sad
there's no way
because there's no
that
alternative.
I'm paying that.
But I don't think that this isn't in this year. This goes on for a little bit. But at this rate, like, I don't see Miami or Vegas being a sustainable event. Like, I don't know. I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, but I'm the biggest racing fan I know. and I'm not going to these races, you know?
I'll put it to you this way.
And so, yeah.
And I'm going to rant for probably maybe a minute and a half. And then I'm going to call it at that. These prices are ridiculous. And for your true diehard fan that I think all four of us are, they're outside of what we will pay. We would rather go to a NASCAR race, an IndyCar race, an IMSA race, a WEC race right now than to pay $1,000-something to go to an F1 race. Because we're going for the race itself. And I feel like Formula One is trying to jump on this social media bullcrap than it is to cater to the people who want to watch the race. And like I said earlier, I can watch the race on TV and I can talk to you guys on Monday about the race, and we can bicker and banter about, who did what and why they did it. And I'm just as happy. But I have IndyCar coming to my backyard. I'm taking the day off Friday from work. I'm going to the race all 3 days. I'm there from no later than 10 till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't miss a dang thing. And the reason why is because they cater to the fan. They don't care about having social media there and having, freaking Justin Bieber come.
It took me 5 hours to get out of the parking lot at COTA in 2019.
It took me
we didn't even
15
talk
minutes
about
to get
parking
home
prices.
from Barbara this year.
So not including general admission this year, it's $475. That's if you take an Uber. If you want to park at the event, it's $275 per car.
Parking's free at Barbara.
That's too much money, man. I'm telling you.
It's limited, but
if
if you buy your ticket early enough, you get free parking, as long as you ask for it.
If this segment is me just complaining and everyone disagreeing that listens to this, well, you're just poor. Cool. Fine. But I really don't think that's the case. Can people afford it? Sure. Is it affordable? No. I don't think so at all. If you want to create fans, because if you want to look at NASCAR, look at what NASCAR's doing. And this is Mr. Dave giving props to NASCAR. Mark that down. But NASCAR is embodying kids. They want kids to be fans. They're not trying to make Levi a fan. They're trying to make Levi's kids a fan because their daddy's watching the race and they want the kid to come in and be interested. And it's a little cringy sometimes, look at the clash and it's a little what are you doing, NASCAR? But at least it's accessible. If my kid, who's less than 2, but let's say in 2 years, my kid's Daddy, I want to go to a NASCAR race. It's let's go. Awesome. Heck yeah. And I think that if you look at NASCAR as a business, that's their marketing department right now, is create this program that's for all ages. The grandpas are watching it with their sons who are watching it with their sons, and everyone's watching it for a different reason. The old guy's watching it because he's maybe mad about the new way things are going. And guys like me are watching it because it is something new and different that's constantly changing, and it's new. It's constantly new. It feels like that to me, at least as a new fan. That I was a fan last year too, but it's different. This year's totally different. And then for my kid, it's just cars going zoom around a track. And I want him to be able to feel like he can access that.
I totally agree, but the bad part about it is, they're there. They can't really. They can change it overnight. I'm not gonna say they can't change it overnight. That's a lie, but it's like they've kind of went down this road. Hopefully they'll see the writing on the wall. Hopefully the attendance will go down. I mean, that's what will change, right? You got to talk money.
We saw it at Silverstone. I mean, people are pissed off about Silverstone. If you kind of get into like the blog posts and Reddit posts, people are mad about what the dynamic pricing model has done to Silverstone general admission. That is one of those races that, like, my grandpa's been going to that race. I go to that race. Now I'm taking my son to that race. And for the first time ever, that race is not affordable to some people.
Yes.
And that's something to be mad about. And it's almost like they're trying to resurrect it with the Brad Pitt thing. Like, oh, well, Brad Pitt's going to be there. Like, no, well, so
that's for a movie filming. It's not like he's actually coming to do anything. He's there to film a freaking movie. He's being paid to be there. If you get on Formula1.com right now, all their website banner is just Brad Pitt. It's solid Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt driving at Silverstone. Colton Herta mad that Brad Pitt got a super license before he did. Ha ha ha. Like, it's on Formula1.com's website. Like, they're cashing in on this too. And so it makes it feel like, to me, that the Silverstone play with because they know people are pissed. David Crofty himself came out on Twitter and talked about how he was mad about it. And isn't Lewis Hamilton part of this whole movie too? He's a producer. That's what I thought. Like, but like, I don't know, and I don't want this to just be like Dave's mad. Like, thanks for your mad input, Dave. But like this whole thing is leading me down a road where I would much, much, much rather be at home. And if the viewership numbers on TV were in the 10 millions, then I would agree that, like, well, everyone feels that way. But it sure seems like no one cares. No one's watching this. Like, MLS soccer pulls half of the numbers of Formula One. MLS soccer. I would love to hear everyone's input on this. You can email us at thelapzeropodcast@gmail.com. You can get on our Discord. If I'm overstepping my boundaries here, if I just don't get it, I'd love to hear your input. But I would love to just know if it's just me that feels this way, because it sure doesn't seem like it. When you go, just a quick Google will show you that, like, yeah, there's plenty of people that are really upset about this. But like, I'm not a fan of Formula One because I want to watch Netflix. Like, I want to go to the race. I want to see Max and Charles battle it out up the hill into turn one at Coda. That's worth $300 a ticket to me. But it's not worth $500 a ticket to me, plus $22 beers, plus $275 parking. It's just not. So let me know what you think, because I'm interested to know. Definitely the Formula One rant will be brought back up here probably in 3 months? Hopefully.
3 days.
Try me.
Sounds like
it'd be brought up sooner than that.
Sounds like we got some really good.
What are you doing for the next 3 hours?
We're probably 4 weeks away from debuting a special called Deer Eye Racing, and we're gonna have another special with NASCAR and its problems, and then we have an F1 special after that coming up. So hope y'all enjoyed, and we will see you next week.